Did you know that the man who would shake the world was born in a small Austrian town? In the quaint town of Braunau am Inn on the 20th of April, 1889, a baby boy named Adolf Hitler came into the world. His father, Alois, was a stern civil servant, and his mother, Clara, a gentle housewife. Young Adolf was not particularly fond of the strict discipline enforced in his household and at school. His heart yearned for something more. He was drawn to the arts and dreamt of becoming a painter. He spent hours sketching and painting, creating his own world on canvas. His father, however, disapproved of his artistic pursuits, believing they were not a real job. The tension between father and son was palpable. But destiny had other plans, and the world was soon to witness a different kind of artistry. World War I, a global conflict that changed many lives, including young Adolf's. The year was 1914, and the world was caught in a whirlwind of strife. Hitler, a young man with a brush in his hand and dreams of artistry in his heart, found himself drawn to the battlefield. He traded his paintbrush for a rifle, joining the German army. The canvas of war was harsh and unforgiving, but it was on this battlefield that Hitler would earn the Iron Cross, a coveted military decoration. But the war was not all about medals and honors. It was a theater of death and despair, a grim backdrop that shaped Hitler's worldview. The end of the war in 1918 brought relief to many, but for Hitler, it was the start of a new journey, a journey that would lead him down a path of political ambition and power. The war had ended, but for Hitler, a new battle was just beginning. From the battlefield to the political arena, Hitler was not one to shy away from a fight. Trading his soldier's uniform for a politician's suit, he found a new battleground in the post-war chaos of Germany. It was here that he discovered the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or as we know it today, the Nazi Party. This was a group that, like Hitler, was dissatisfied with the Treaty of Versailles and the conditions it imposed on Germany. Hitler saw an opportunity to harness this shared discontent, and he seized it. He quickly ascended the ranks, becoming the party's leader in just a few short years. With his fiery speeches and promises of a better future, he began to gather a following. But politics was a different kind of warfare, one that required cunning and strategy. Every story has a turning point, and for Hitler, it was the beer hall putsch. Picture this: Munich, November 1923. Hitler, with the Nazi Party, attempted to seize power in a coup. However, it was less of a grand political strategy, more of a poorly executed bar brawl. When the smoke cleared, Hitler found himself behind bars. One might think this was a setback, but not for our mustachioed artist-turned-politician. He transformed his prison cell into a writer's den, penning his infamous manifesto, Mein Kampf. The book, filled with his political ideology and future plans for Germany, became a bestseller upon his release. This literary endeavor was like a phoenix rising from the ashes of the beer hall putsch, rekindling Hitler's political ambitions. So you see, Hitler's failed coup and subsequent imprisonment weren't the end of his story. Far from it. Imprisonment was not a setback, but a stepping stone for Hitler. From the ashes of his failed coup, Hitler rose like a phoenix, and this time he was unstoppable. Upon his release from prison, he was determined to seize power through legitimate means. By the early 1930s, Germany was in the grip of the Great Depression, and Hitler, a charismatic speaker, found a responsive audience for his message of national revival and repudiation of the Treaty of Versailles. In January 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. Within a year, he had consolidated his power, suppressing all political opposition and establishing a totalitarian regime. The Reichstag Fire Decree and the Enabling Act were key instruments in his rise to absolute power. He transformed Germany into a one-party state, where every aspect of life was controlled by the government. However, this power was not without its costs. Personal freedoms were sacrificed, dissent was crushed, and the seeds of a devastating war were sown. Under Hitler's rule, Germany was transformed, but at what cost? Hitler's ambitions knew no bounds, and his actions would plunge the world into another devastating war. The game of global monopoly took a ghastly turn as Hitler rolled the dice of destiny, launching World War II in 1939. The Führer's aggressive expansionist policies saw him annexing territories faster than a kid hoarding candies on Halloween. But amidst the echoes of marching boots and the roar of tanks, there was a darker, more sinister tune being played. The Holocaust, a chilling symphony of death, orchestrated by Hitler and his Nazi regime, claimed the lives of 6 million Jews. It was a time when humanity was lost in the smoke of the crematoria, and the world stood witness to an unfathomable horror. The world was in the throes of war, and at its center was Adolf Hitler. His actions, a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity, left an indelible mark on the pages of history. But every reign has its end, and Hitler's was no exception. As the tide of the Second World War turned against him, Hitler's iron grip began to slip. The Allies, a formidable force of nations united against fascism, began closing in on Berlin. Hitler's dreams of a 1,000-year Reich were crumbling faster than a sandcastle against a rising tide. In his final act of defiance, or perhaps despair, Hitler chose to end his own life in his bunker like a rat trapped in its hole on April 30th, 1945. His death marked the end of an era that the world would never forget nor forgive. In the aftermath, the world was left to pick up the pieces. The Holocaust, the war, the devastation. Hitler's legacy was one of destruction and despair. His actions sparked a global commitment to preventing such atrocities from ever happening again. Adolf Hitler, a name that will forever be etched in history, a reminder of the devastation that can be wrought by one man's ambition.